In this training video, you will not only learn how to set up your workspace, but also how to get the most out of your workspace. To work within Onscreen, you will utilize palettes. Knowing which of the available palettes to use and how to arrange those palettes is vital to getting the most out of Onscreen. Let's first go through all of the available palettes, giving you a brief explanation of the purpose of each palette. Let's first navigate to the list of available palettes. To do so, select the View ribbon and the option Select Palettes. The first palette we will be reviewing is the Fittings palette. It is from the Fittings palette you will be able to select, take off, and count quantities of fittings. Please understand, the fittings available in the palette are generated from the spec associated with the current zone. When working in a domestic water zone, the palette will be populated with the fittings assigned to that spec. When working in a waste and vent below grade spec, the palette will be populated with the fittings assigned to that spec. And so on and so on. The fitting palette will also be filtered by size. For example, the current size selected is 1.5 inches, and therefore we see fittings available in 1.5 inches. If 8 inch is selected, the fitting palette is filtered down to fittings that are only available in 8 inch. In Onscreen, most palettes have multiple display options. Currently displayed is the icon view. When your cursor is hovered over an icon, a description of the icon is displayed. To change the display option, right-click in the palette and toggle to Show Text. This is the text display option. The Fittings palette is a must to generate takeoff. Please make sure the Fittings palette is toggled on. And now, Flanges. The Flange palette is populated from the zone's spec. And like the fitting palette, the current size selected will affect which flanges are available. Flanges are an important part of takeoff. Please make sure your flange palette is toggled on. Next up, the Hangers palette. Like the fittings and flange palettes, the Hangers palette is populated by the spec. Please understand, it is within the spec where the hanger type and the hanger spacing is defined. Therefore, while scaling horizontal pipe, understand hanger counts and quantities will automatically be generated. However, when taking off vertical pipe, you will need to manually count your vertical pipe supports. The Hangers palette is also important for on-screen takeoff. Please make sure it is also toggled on. The other palette will display custom database items. Since this is not commonly used, you may not need this palette toggled on. Next up is the Pipe palette. Like fittings, flanges, and hangers, materials generated from the Pipe palette come from the current zone's spec. 3 configurations of pipe are available to assist you with scaling pipe, differentiating between pipe mains, branch runouts, and vertical risers, and to generate counts and quantities of hangers. The pipe palette is also very important during takeoff. Please make sure it is also toggled on. Specialties palette. It is often asked, what are specialties items? If it is not a pipe, fitting, valve, flange, it is a specialty item. Specialties items will be used in just about every takeoff. Please make sure this palette is toggled on. And now, the Valves palette. Items in the Valves palette are also generated from the current zone's spec and by the current size selected. Please make sure your Valves palette is also toggled on. Next up, the Assemblies palette. Assemblies available in the palette are populated from 2 sources. The first source were assemblies that were predefined for the project in the Assemblies tab. The second source is from the spec assigned to each assembly. For example, the current zone selected is a domestic water zone. Thus you will see assemblies for domestic water takeoff. If a zone with another spec is selected, you will see the assemblies for that zone's spec material list. Or you can show all available assemblies by selecting the option Show All Assemblies. Additionally, assemblies can be filtered using the Filter tool. And star is to show all. Assemblies are optional. If you use assemblies, please make sure you have the palette available. Bookmarks. Bookmarks are shortcuts to database items. Look for the bookmark pipe training video to learn how to create, edit, and manage bookmarks. Bookmarks are optional. However, if you do use bookmarks, please make sure the palette is available. The database palette. Database items can be accessed directly from Onscreen. Accessing database items here in Onscreen is commonly used when you have a miscellaneous item that was not previously defined in a spec. Though you should do your best to pre-populate specs with all materials needed, you might find it useful to access miscellaneous items directly from the database. And now, job items. Job items define fixtures and equipment and can be accessed to generate counts and quantities of fixtures and equipment for on-screen takeoff. Job items are populated from the options that were previously set up in the Job Items tab. Though optional, if you do use job items to count fixtures and equipment, please make sure the palette is available. The image palette. The palette displays an image of the current item being taken off. This is a great visual tool to help ensure you are taking off the correct materials. Though optional, it is highly suggested that you make the image palette available. And now, item info. Like the previous image palette, the item info palette displays information about the current item being taken off. Additionally, when taking off horizontal pipe, insulation, joints, and hangers can be toggled off and on. Insulation thicknesses can be adjusted, as well as hanger types. The item info palette is an important part of on-screen takeoff. Please make sure you have that palette readily available. The Notes palette. Within the Notes field, you can define different information associated with the items you are taking off. If the note will be commonly used, you can save that note as a preset to be used later and recall that note to be used. Selecting the option Carry Forward Notes will apply the note to the next items taken off. If the option is left unchecked, the note will only apply to the current item being taken off. And lastly, selecting the option Mark as Custom/Quoted Item will force the current item taken off to the Quotes tab, where a quoted price can be associated with it. And now, the audit trail. The audit trail is also an integral part of Onscreen. It is a record of each and every item taken off. Items displayed in the audit trail can be filtered with the zones list. Additionally, each column within the audit trail can be filtered. To do so, select the column header pull-down and select the filter. To turn the filter off, select here. And lastly, the audit trail can be arranged and customized to display certain information. To do so, select the button in the upper left-hand corner of the audit trail, and from the field chooser, select the options that you would like to see displayed. To arrange the information in the audit trail, you can move the columns by left-clicking and dragging the column to reposition it. The audit trail is a very important part of on-screen takeoff. Please make sure the palette is turned on and available. And now, the Colors palette. During takeoff, different systems can be highlighted with different colors. Here, we can clearly see both the pipe and the fittings between the domestic cold water and the domestic hot water systems. The default colors can be customized to your liking. To do so, right-click on one of the colors you would like to change, and choose the color from the palette that you would like to change it to. The Colors palette is optional. The Notifications palette. The Notification palette logs a record of every activity performed within Onscreen and is optional. And now, Quantity Entry palette. Please understand, here in Onscreen, an electronic plan file is not required. A material list can be manually entered, and you will use the Quantity Entry palette to do so. The Quantity Entry palette is not required when using an electronic plan file to scale and count. However, it is required when manually entering a material list. Scaling Options. The Scaling Options palette allows you to control how items are scaled, counted, and displayed in Onscreen. The scaling options will be reviewed in Training Video 4.3 On-Screen Takeoff. These options will be adjusted from takeoff to takeoff. Please make sure this palette is available. The Scope palette. The fields in the Scope palette allow takeoff items to be tagged, to be filtered here in Onscreen, and to be reported in the Excel's Final Estimate Summary Pivot Report. You will find more on the other features in Training Video 4.3 On-Screen Takeoff. The Scope palette is optional and not required during takeoff. On to the Sizes palette. The Sizes palette is used for the estimator to determine what size of material is to be taken off. The sizes displayed in the palette are controlled by the current zone's spec. For example, the current zone selected is a domestic water spec, thus we see sizes from 1/2 inch to 8 inch. However, if a waste and vent zone is selected, we will see the sizes associated with that spec. Those sizes are from 1.5 inch to 15. The Sizes palette is not optional for on-screen takeoff. Please make sure your size palette is turned on. The Toolbar palette. Options within the Toolbar palette assist you during on-screen takeoff. Though the toolbar is optional, it is highly suggested you make the toolbar available during takeoff. And lastly, the Zone List. The Zone List displays all the zones that have been created within the current project. It is from the Zone List where the estimator controls which materials are to be generated by selecting the zone with the given system. Displaying materials generated can be toggled on and off by selecting the option associated with each zone. Like the audit trail, the zone list can be customized. By selecting the option here, choose the information you'd like to be displayed from the field chooser. Additionally, the columns within the zone list can be moved. The zone list is not optional and must be displayed for on-screen takeoff. Now that you have an understanding of all the palettes that are available to you and which ones you would like to use, you will now be shown how to arrange those palettes to set up your workspace. To utilize Onscreen, it is suggested that you use either a dual monitor setup or a single curved display. For more information on displays, please navigate to QuoteSoft.com and find under Support, System Requirements. To help you start setting up your workspace, QuoteSoft has provided you with default setups. To access those default setups, please navigate to the View ribbon and select the option Load. In this dialog box, you can see the default workspaces that QuoteSoft has provided to you as a starting point. Use Full Workspace displaying all palettes if you are using larger monitors. However, if you have smaller displays, please use Maximized Plan View as your starting point. If using Onscreen to simply input a material list, please use the option Quantity Takeoff, in which no plan file is being utilized. And lastly, if you are utilizing dual 24-inch monitors, please use the last default option, Dual 24-inch. Now that you have selected a default workspace as a starting point, please understand that that workspace can be customized. Moving docked palettes can be tricky at first, but understanding how to move the palettes, and with a little practice, you will end up with the workspace that's best for you. To arrange palettes, you will use the Palette Control tool. The Palette Control tool assists you with relocating palettes. For example, I'm going to move the Zone List palette from its location to the right of the Drawing palette. To do so, I'm going to first left-click and drag on the Zone List title bar and drag over the Drawing palette to see the Palette Control tool. Hover your cursor over the area of the palette that you would like to drop the palette. You can see by the shaded areas where the palette will end up. Palettes can also be stacked and tabbed. To do so, left-click and drag the palette you would like to relocate over the palette you'd like to move to. Use the box in the middle of the Palette Control tool. Palettes can also be tabbed and hidden. To do so, relocate the palette to either edge or bottom of the screen. Use the arrow in the palette and select Auto Hide. Once palettes have been placed, please understand they can be resized. To do so, hover your cursor over the edge of any palette until you see this symbol. Then left-click and drag your cursor. Once you have customized a workspace to best suit your needs, you will want to save the workspace so it can be recalled later. To do so, navigate to the View ribbon and select Save. Give your workspace a name and select Save Workspace. To recall a saved workspace, please navigate to the View ribbon and select Load. Select your custom setup from the list and OK to restore your workspace.